How's it going, folks? Mark from Like Minded Lunatics, and I'm here with Jim.
Happy to be here again.
Yeah, and Ricky.
Hey, people.
And we are going to do a reaction to the Cranberries' Zombie. Now, this song was it was written about...
The 1993, 1994, right in there?
Yeah. And this was about the Warrington Bombings.
Right, so the Provisional IRA, which was a splinter group of the old school IRA, launched a guerrilla campaign against the British for independence of Northern Ireland. And this was one of the several attacks they did in mainland Britain, actually in England, not in Northern Ireland.
And the Cranberries were on tour at this time period, and three young children.
Yeah, one like 5 and 12, I want to say, something very young.
Yeah, were killed in the bomb attack. And Dolores O'Riordan said that she wrote this essentially by herself with an acoustic guitar. And this was the quote that she said about writing the song. She said, "There were a lot of bombs going off in London, and I remember this one time a child was killed when a bomb was put in a rubbish bin. That's why there's that line in the song, 'A child is slowly taken.' We were on a tour bus, and I was near the location where it happened, so it really struck me hard. I was quite young, but I remember being devastated about the innocent children being pulled into that kind of thing. So I suppose that's why I was saying it's not me. That even though I'm Irish, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. Because being Irish, it was quite hard, especially in the UK, when there was so much tension." So we thought we would react to this. This is actually, the Warrington Bombings took place, I think, around the 20th of February to commemorate that horrific event. And I thought, we usually do beers with, it doesn't feel like a beer night to me. So I thought we would go with a traditional Irish whiskey, a redbreast, a single pot whiskey. And we would watch this version of Zombie. It's remastered in 4K. So if you get a chance to check that out, it's a gorgeous music video. There you go, Jim.
Thank you, sir.
It's a gorgeous music video and a beautiful song, and probably one of the most impactful songs from the early 90s. So folks, it's tradition around here to have a cheers with our Friday night reaction video. This is going to be a somber one, so I hope you have your own beverage. Cheers, everybody. Hope you have a great weekend. Cheers, fellas.
Cheers.
Oh boy, Ricky downed his. I'm gonna sip mine.
I'm gonna sip it too.
Oh boy,
I'm a whiskey sipper.
That's a good one though. All right, here we go. The Cranberries, Zombie. I'm going to stop it here because I know folks are ready for the drum roll. I know Ricky's ready for it, but I did want to address her vocalization. So on YouTube, there's a ton of people that have reacted to this song, and almost exclusively everyone says that she's yodeling. I don't think that's the case. We looked this up, and this is a traditional Irish lament for the dead, and what she's doing, the vocalization, is something called keening. And keening was a way in Gaelic to lament the people who have passed. And in a lot of Gaelic mythology, especially dealing with banshees and things like that, banshees were said to keen after someone had passed. So even if they weren't near them, a banshee would keen about the loss of a loved one. And I actually found there's a recording of someone from the 1950s. This is near Cork. Alan Lomax, who is a music ethnologist. Ricky, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He recorded this woman in Cork who remembered a keening. Actually didn't know what it meant. It was something her grandparents had taught her. But this is what a traditional keen sounds like. Now, Ricky, maybe you can speak this a little bit, but it sounds to me like she's switching between like head singing and like chest singing.
And the vibrato, there's a little something different about the vibrato, and yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. An ethnomusicologist is someone who studies like the history of music, but it's often of kind of non-Western, so it'd be like Irish traditions or Japanese music or Indian ragas or whatever type of thing. So this is very legit.
Yeah. And Mark, I want to touch on the imagery with the Christian imagery. I thought is really good with the children who look like cherubs, which I find it interesting, right? So she's in front of a cross, and I don't want to get into the debate, but Protestant, Catholic, but ultimately it is Christianity, and she's standing there in front of the cross, right? The ultimate symbol of Christianity. And I think she's kind of, I don't know, maybe saying, hey, everyone's nobody's that different from each other.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case. That's my interpretation of it.
Well, and she's also surrounded by children, and she's the one that's up on the cross.
Right.
And so I don't know if that means, and again, this is something I'm just spitballing. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that means that these children, she's surrounded by them, and she feels like she's being crucified because of their passing. So like when I read that quote at the beginning, she literally says, because being Irish, it was quite hard, especially in the UK when there was so much tension. I suppose that's why I was saying it's not me, even though I was Irish. It wasn't me. Mm-hmm. And so I wonder if the imagery that we're seeing in this video, and the video is gorgeous. Mm-hmm. It's in 4K now. Please look at it in 4K. I'm wondering if that imagery is she's being crucified.
Right.
The death of these children. I'm Irish, but it was not me. Mm-hmm. But I'm taking on those sins. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yeah, and I find it interesting also with the bows and arrow. Is it a Cupid reference or is it about violence? When she talks about violence, right? So ultimately, there's this. It's not very clear. I think it's open to interpretation for on purpose, right?
I think so too. I love, and this is something that we've talked about a lot on the channel, like the difference between high and low art. Mm-hmm. A lot of times low art is just something that's surface level. Mm-hmm. When Kip Winger is singing about girls being 17, that's literally all Kip is singing about.
You had to bring that up.
I know. But high art, I feel like one of the defining characteristics is that it is open for interpretation.
Ambiguity. Definitely.
And it allows different readings. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With their tanks and their bombs and their bombs and their guns in your head, yeah, cool, yeah. In your head, zombie, 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 what's in your head,
So again, I hate to stop it, but one of the things that they're showing now are the walls on Shank Hill and Falls Road. And this is in Belfast. My wife and I were there in like 2008, 2010. A lot of this graffiti is still there. But when they filmed this video, the director said that obviously the troubles were still happening when they filmed it. And so they actually lied about why they were there. They said that they were there to film a documentary, and they were actually there to film this music video about this song. So a lot of the imagery that we see in this video of the military guys and stuff like that, it's real. Those are not actors.
And it's interesting that it's the Scottish flag, since the Scottish were the ones who colonized northern Ireland. Interesting. I like it. I like it.
Well, I think one of the things about it, especially like being over there, is that you really feel that there is this, we've talked about this as far as Texas is concerned too. There were so many people and such a limited space, and all of these cultures kind of melded together, and then they had these troubles where they forced people to be stratified. Like they forced people into these positions. And
Mother's breaking, heart is taken over. When the violence causes silence, we must be mistaken. It's the same old teen since 1916. In your head, they're still fighting with their tanks and their bombs and their bombs and their guns. In your head, they are dying. In your head, zombie, zombie, zombie. What's in your head? In your head, zombie, zombie, zombie. Oh, 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 oh,
So I'm going to stop it here for a second to ask Ricky a question. So, Ricky, we've talked before about, like, when you and I we researched Big Pig song, that Breakaway, that they covered. One of the things that we talked about was that they were kind of taking musical traditions from Japan and integrating it with kind of like a pop thing and stuff like that. So one of the things that I feel like we're seeing with Dolores O'Riordan here is that she's integrating keening, which is kind of this old way of lamenting the dead, with stuff like frying out that like Alanis Morissette and Courtney Love.
She's got that zombie type of stuff, yeah.
And so what is that called again when you integrate those old versions of music into new things?
There is a term called polystylistic, which is using lots of different styles as kind of a new style type of thing. So maybe it's something like that. Part of me thinks maybe it's just her sound, and I'm looking, this came out in 1994.
Right.
And I was in college at that time studying music, working in a record store, and I can remember when this came out, and she has a very distinct sound. Is she doing all of this consciously, or is that just from all of the shit she's had to deal with? I don't know, but that sound, and you think about how many thousands and thousands of singers have been around, she has a very distinct sound.
Yes.
Like you hear it, and I've even had, I have teenagers that are like, oh, I've heard that sound, but that singer before. So I think she's just kind of combining all these elements, and she's come up with her own sound. And the way she's singing is, you hear that on other Cranberries songs as well. Mm-hmm. She just has a very distinct sound, which is really hard to come by.
Well, and I think what you just said kind of reminds me of, there's a quote by John 5 about Eddie Van Halen. Mm-hmm. John was talking about people who were trying to buy EVH gear to sound like EVH.
Yeah.
And John has said that, I feel like I'm a great guitar player. I can play EVH's equipment, and I will never sound like Ed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so what kind of reminds me of what you were talking about is that her singing style is an expression of her.
Yeah.
I guess, for lack of a better term.
All of her experiences, everything she's been through. Yeah. It's like everything. It's something that can't be replicated because it depends on the individual. And some of them can get it and some of them can't.
Yeah.
And she kind of nails it.
Yeah, and I guess that's just, that just speaks to how powerful she was as a singer and a performer.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, that's just
Pretty meaty.
stunning.
Yeah.
I know I'm interrupting the denouement of the song, but I feel like I can't ignore the imagery any longer. So we've seen in black and white what looks to be young Irish children near Shankill and Falls Road playing, violence playing. And then we also see the soldiers, and then we see the cherubs, or whatever you want to call them, around surrounding the cross. I'm wondering if that is kind of suggesting that how we teach children to play ends up causing violence.
Right, because your children don't grow up hating each other for no reason. Right. And these are values and mores pushed on them. Right. Yeah. Definitely.
So we're seeing the kids like laughing and hitting each other with sticks.
Right.
And then later we're also seeing children, those images juxtaposed with what looks like dead children, and then the images of those angels or cherubs or whatever crying out.
Right.
I just can't ignore that imagery. And then we end there. Wow. I mean, what a masterpiece, first off.
And it's a very, very simple song. It's only 4 chords the whole time. I've played it dozens of times in lots of different bands. Hello, Ashley. She used to sing it and sounded great. And it's a really good example of being very powerful with not a lot of material. It's more about kind of the emotion and the message behind it. Part of me wonders if some of this is she's writing this because it's like, all of this is happening. I'm in a rock band. What can I do?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like,
that's her only sense
I'm
of
on
agency.
tour.
Right. Yeah.
And all this is happening. What, I don't know.
You're
It's an
right,
amazing
though.
song.
Like, it's born out of hopelessness.
Yeah.
How do I help? How do I contribute? What do I do? I can't do anything. I'll write this song.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what's interesting to me, also, this was banned by the BBC and RTE when it first came out.
Right.
And it's really not that violent, at least to a modern viewer, right? I mean, to us, it isn't, especially to Americans, right? But it's crazy to me that in the 90s, which isn't that long ago, this was considered controversial enough to be banned from the BBC and RTE.
That's true. And I wonder if it's just because of the imagery of the soldiers who are patrolling that Shankill and Falls Road area, if it's just that imagery, or if it was the image like we're seeing now of the children being killed.
Right.
I don't know. Or were they expecting this imagery would cause more violence?
Right.
God, in that line, silence causes violence. I can't, there's just, yeah. Well, folks, let us know in the comments what you think about this reaction. Let us know in the comments what your memories of this. I mean, we were all alive when this happened.
One thing I would like to know is for people who live in Northern Ireland, Protestant, Catholic, whatever, no affiliation, how is it like there now? As an American who's interested in this, I would love to hear your opinions.
I know. And, like I said, we visited like around 2008, 2010. And I have to say, as someone who grew up in the 80s and 90s, and you heard about the IRA, and you heard about the violence, and you heard about all this type of stuff, I did not know what to expect from Belfast, from Northern Ireland. And I have to say, it was one of the most welcoming places I think my wife and I have ever visited. But also one of the most emotional, and I didn't expect it to be so. Because like a lot of people, we walked through Shankill and Falls Road, and we walked through all the memorials and things like that. And as someone who just saw this stuff on the news, it just brought it home that these were real kids who died here.
Yeah.
And so we had one of the great experiences there. But yeah, I would love to know what people think about this now. So folks, we hope you enjoyed this one. Let us know in the comments what you think. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Give us a thumbs up. And take care of yourselves, folks. And we'll see you soon.